Hello troops, I'm Coach Craig and this is your lesson for the week. Today we're going to briefly brush over what is our programming, or how we kind of come across, or what we do with our programming to get that work capacity across broad time and modal domains. We've already said one part of it. If you cast your minds back now through all the lessons that we've done so far, we've got what is CrossFit, we covered first of all. And within that, we've got the methodology of constantly varied functional movements executed at high intensity. And then lesson 2, we talked about what is fitness. And we mentioned this increased work capacity across broad time and modal domains. So in order to get that, how do we program for it? So basically, to condense this all into a very short, sharp brief, we need to provide variance, okay? For it to be constantly varied, we've got to add lots of variance and get rid of any form of routine. So this is routine in the sense that leading away from always doing a single circuit of a certain style and technique with same apparatus, same weights, same machinery, on a Monday, on a Tuesday and a Friday, and you do that every week, and you follow this program for 6 weeks. So we've come completely away from that idea, and we want as much variance and blur the line of distinction between absolutely everything to keep the body guessing all the time. So within variance, we know that the obvious ones are time frame. So we don't want to train for the same time, for lead away from the days when we just hit the treadmill for 45 minutes every single time. So that means you'll only ever be good within that domain and that style or that specific movement or exercise. And then next one, the obvious one, weight and the loading. So we want to up the weight and lower the weight, and never be consistent with always training heavy, and certainly never be consistent with always training light. And then you'll see multitude of different rep ranges. So we want to blur the line of distinction with, you've got the classic 21-15-9 you see come about quite often, but we don't want to stick to any form of pattern, as good as that is. We don't want to keep with always training 21-15-9, let's throw in a 50-50-50, let's throw in 150 of something. And we increase volume and lower the intensity, or we decrease volume and up the intensity. You then got a constantly varied approach to equipment. So we're definitely experiencing that at the moment with the COVID-19, which is seeing most people come out of the gym and away from the apparatus that you can't take home, the rigs, the pull-up bars, the heavy equipment, the rowers, the bikes, the heavy barbells. But what can you not do on a dowel, a dumbbell, a kettlebell, a bag full of sand, your rucksack full of books, that you can't do on a barbell anyway. So a clean is a clean, a snatch is a snatch. And we want to have variance in our training, not just in the sense of what's going on at the moment, but also in our normal training routine. Doing a single arm snatch with a dumbbell is a lot different than doing a normal Olympic lifting movement, a snatch. You're going to find a lot more instability because both arms aren't helping each other out, and so on and so forth. So if you are a kettlebell ninja, you want to take it to a barbell, you're going to provide your body a whole different stimulus. And if you are a vice versa, a barbell ninja, then do multiple repetitions on odd objects, you're going to provide yourself for a different form of stimulus all over again. So you want to mix things up as much as possible like that. Environment is quite a key one for what's going on at the moment, but this is also, I've been fortunate enough throughout my lifestyle to train in different environments, and doing Fran in Norway, or that kind of climate, over Fran in Oman, at the absolute opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of temperature. You learn a hell of a lot about yourself and a hell of a lot about your training and the effects that these things provide when you mix things about. Within that, you've got elevation as well. Do you think that you're going to be able to do a sub 3-minute Fran at over 7,000 feet in elevation? I wouldn't think so. If you speak to some of the people that have done some mountain training, climbed some of the lower things like Kilimanjaro, Mount Kenya, and if you're fortunate enough to hit base camp at Everest, you definitely aren't rocking a fast Fran time when you hit base camp of Everest. So it's preparing and prepping yourself for that as much as possible. This also goes with your own equipment, like don't be training in your Nano 9s every single day. Don't always do squats in lifters. Don't always train at the same time of the day. Don't always train with your trousers on. Don't always train with your shorts on. Don't always train with your tops on. Don't always train with your tops off. Mix absolutely everything. Do not build a custom, do not hold a crutch to anything when it comes to your training. Okay, train before you've eaten, train after you've eaten. Train at 6 a.m. in the morning if you always train at 6 p.m. Flip that on its head if that's not the case. Sometimes try a 6 p.m. that leads straight into you training the 6 a.m. the following day and see how well you fare up with that limited amount of recovery that you normally aren't used to, because you normally get a full 24-hour interval. So that kind of thing. You've also got routine then, making sure there's no regularity with your training cycle whatsoever. Even though we promote this 3 days on, 1 day off, that would see you hitting different time frames or hitting certain days, so it wouldn't make you consistent with training every Monday, every Tuesday, every Wednesday, because if you follow that pattern, it's going to see that you sometimes hit a Sunday, that you sometimes switch back to a Monday, and so on and so forth. There's then the 5 days on, 2 days off, and we simply promote that just so you can keep that intensity up and you don't drift into the trap of trying to hit maximum intensity 17 days on the trot as such. So that's your variant covered. We've got you back with that. We're breaking that down in the sense of what we do then is we ensure that we've got a good variety throughout the program when it comes to using different equipment, hitting different intensities and hitting different modalities. So we don't focus too largely on gymnastics, we don't focus too largely on weightlifting, we don't focus too largely on the CV, like certain monostructural elements that we come across. Like you wouldn't want to just be hitting the rower every single day of the week. To ensure that that doesn't happen, to keep it constantly varied, in an ideal world, you just put all the exercise movements and repetitions and time frames and all this variance in the hopper that we spoke about, and then each day we'd pull out and we'd see what we've got today is 21, 15, 9 of deadlifts and running. That would all be well and good, but as you can imagine, there's still a probability then of deadlifts coming out day 1, deadlifts coming out day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, and then that's probably not going to see that you do deadlifting again for the next 6 months. So there's no variance there. It's like, oh, we've been deadlifting all the time. Your body doesn't come accustomed with all the other aspects that what we can do to provide all different stimulus and keep the body getting attacked from all different angles as such. So what we can do is write a basic cycle just to keep us to a system that keeps it random, if that makes sense. So if we write down that on Monday we're going to focus on a single modality and it's going to be monostructural exercise, we're going to row. Is it going to be high intense? Is it going to be low intense? What's the time frame? So the time frame we want to be about, let's start off on a long pace, so we're going to go for a good 30 minutes of work, so it's going to be 5k or something in along the lines of 5 all the way up to 10 kilometers. And we're only going to focus on that day. The following day we're going to do some gymnastics and some weightlifting. And then again we're going to put a time frame on it, we're going to put loading on it, so on and so forth. And then the next day we're going to go monostructural, gymnastics and weightlifting. And we're going to put a time frame on that, and we're going to look back to what we did before, and we're going to make sure that we're going to throw as much variance involved as possible. So if we did weightlifting, we're going to switch the movement. We did snatch the day before, today we're going to do clean and jerks, or whatever it might be. So ensuring that we always stick towards the concept of using fully functional movements that provide that big, large power output, and they also cover all the motor recruitment patterns that keeps things the same as day-to-day life, or doing normal tasks in day-to-day life. And then we carry on that cycle like that, following the next day hitting gymnastics, single modality, and then we got weightlifting and monostructural the following day, gymnastics, weightlifting, monostructural the following day, and you can see it just follows the rhythm across the board of monostructural, gymnastics, weightlifting, monostructural, gymnastics, weightlifting, monostructural, gymnastics, weightlifting, and if you look down that angle, monostructural, gymnastics, weightlifting. So it's a really simple code as such that would keep lots of variance in your training. So briefly guys, that's about it at the moment. I thought that this was a really important one to just cover them basics because it's so relevant to what's going on now. There's going to be so many people that are completely hit with the concept of like, this is not my routine, this is not the way I do things. We have had our members now being forced into training in an environment that they're not used to. Maybe their conservatory is so much hotter than the box that they're used to. Maybe the flooring is so different. He's certainly learned that doing burpees on a laminate floor might be a little bit different than doing burpees on our floor, and covering a 400 metre run around the housing estate opposed to the 400 metre run that we've got mapped out. Different, but it's good because it's providing that stimulus of completely keeping your body guessing. The mind must be going crazy at the moment with, wow, what is this? And as soon as you create that new stimulus, your body will create an adaptation and you're forever training a truer method towards what CrossFit is. So I hope that makes a bit of sense, guys. That's a brief, very brief outlook on how we kind of come about our programming to make sure that we are following the guidance of increasing your work capacity across broad time and modal domains, but also hitting the methodology of making sure we've got plenty of variance. Lots of, most of it is going to come from functional movements, and a large amount of our training is going to lead towards the higher intensity rather than the longer aerobic, like turn up on the box and you're going to be hit today with a 10K run. Okay, that concludes this lesson, and I'll see you all soon.